Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I think we should have a talk about Jenny Humphrey. I won't lie, I think Jenny Humphrey is overhated. I don't know, I just think it's a lot. So I am currently rewatching Gossip Girl, and I'm watching the show, and I don't know, I kind of really like Jenny's character, and I don't know, I feel like I related to her a lot more. I think in a show that is full of all of this, crazy lifestyle and money and popularity and stuff, I personally think Jenny Humphrey was the only character that I could actually relate to on the show. And I just think all of this hate, for what? So I wrote down some notes while I'm in my little rewatch of Gossip Girl, and we're going to talk about it. Jenny Humphrey is Dana Humphrey's sister. And from the start, we are given that they are kind of outsiders, loners, not really part of this lifestyle. But then throughout the show, this lifestyle kind of takes over. Jenny at the start of the show is Blair's kind of assistant, I guess. And she's trying to involve herself with the popular people. She's trying to get them to like her. She wants them on her side, type of thing. Jenny only really got introduced into this whole kind of Gossip Girl lifestyle once Lily kind of brought it into their lives. Lily married Rufus. No, they didn't marry. They got together. My bad. They got together. And Lily had this whole Gossip Girl kind of life because she was previously married to Bart Bass. So this whole lifestyle only really came into Jenny's life because of this. And I think there's a really good argument to establish that I don't think Jenny ever wanted this lifestyle. I don't think she ever wanted to put on this brat persona that people say she has. I really think that because this kind of life entered her life and overtook it and surrounded her, she was a young teenager. She was 15, I think. To have this come into your life is a really overwhelming thing. And how are you supposed to handle it as a teenager? Because I feel like at that age, with that life, I don't know how I would have handled everything. So I think it's unfair for people to complain that Jenny was just always trying to be involved and always trying to make it big and had this whole brat thing about her, because she never really wanted this life, and the life kind of overtook her and she didn't really have a say in that. I really Jenny was one of the very, very few characters that actually was trying to make something of herself through her own work and her own creativity. Much like Vanessa, Jenny was really into fashion and wanted her own fashion label, and this girl worked. She was booked and she was busy, and she only ever wanted to make it big with her hard work. And I think this is a breath of fresh air and something that can get lost in this type of world, because all of the characters are it's handed to them, basically. Nate's family was always quite famous and rich. The Basses, famous and rich. Blair's family, the Waldorfs, rich and famous. They have a name for themselves. So all of the children, Chuck, Nate, Blair, had everything handed to them. So I think it was really refreshing in my eyes as a young woman myself to have someone on the show who was genuinely hard working, and she had an ambition. She knew what she wanted to do in life and she wanted to succeed in that. And everyone else was dragging her down for no reason. And I think I read a lot of opinions on Jenny regarding that she was really annoying to Blair. I have to disagree with this. I think Jenny was only fighting back, and Blair was quite manipulative in order to keep up this like leader persona. I love Blair, by the way. This is not hate to Blair. I love Blair, but she had to keep up this leader persona, so she was quite manipulative. And it was really nice that I feel like Jenny was the only one who like fought back and was like, no, I'm not going to do this for you. I'm not going to be this for you. So I don't think she was annoying to Blair. I think she was valid in her actions. I think her fighting back against Blair and kind of using Blair's tactics against her was like really, I guess, refreshing, because everyone else really sucked up to Blair. So to have Jenny, who's this young teenage girl who wants to be part of this popular group, to have her break out and be like, no, I'm not following this, I think is really refreshing and really, really nice for the show. Like, I love Blair, love Blair, but towards Jenny, she was really, really mean. So I don't really blame Jenny for kind of fighting back. So a lot of my opinion is based on, I feel like Jenny's character was one of the only characters really who had any kind of character development. A lot of the characters in the show had the same kind of stories throughout, like Serena and Dan were always kind of breaking up and getting back together, and they realized they were the only ones for each other. And then Blair and Chuck, that was the entire storyline the whole way through. Nate with his like family and that whole situation. But Jenny's stories were really, really interesting, and I do feel like she was the only one with any kind of character development. She had this ongoing battle with her dad, which, by the way, adds to like Jenny's mum didn't really want anything to do with her, and Jenny's dad was also the most double standard guy ever, so that also adds a lot to it. But Jenny had so many storylines when it came to her work in fashion, and then kind of dealing with this Gossip Girl world and dealing with love, and then her dad as well, that the Jenny Humphrey that we got from the beginning, the sweet, innocent like child, is not who we had at the end of the show. And I won't lie, I think she girl bossed majorly, because at the end of the show she had a whole fashion line by the age of 18. So to see her character development and all the storylines and arcs that she had was so interesting. And I think this is why I really liked her character, because she was not one-dimensional and she had different storylines as the show progressed, which added to her character development, which I really, really enjoyed. In my eyes, with a show about all these teenagers, I understand I don't live the Gossip Girl life, okay? But Jenny was the most, to me, she was the character that I really felt relatable to. She was kind of like this outsider, but she also wanted to make it like big, and she was really creative. She wanted her work to resemble her. And throughout this entire show of all these teenagers going out, partying, sleeping with each other, having all this money, running businesses, these people aren't relatable to me. Like, it's really fun to watch them live this life, and I really love Gossip Girl, and I love the majority of the characters. So this isn't me slating the characters, but this is me saying that Jenny was who I am more related to, because of everything she kind of stands for, and she wants her work to resemble her, and she wants to do it by herself, and she wants to achieve all these things by herself without the help of this Gossip Girl world. And I think that is a breath of fresh air for the show, when you have all these characters who are doing all these wild, crazy things, to have someone like Jenny, who represents kind of the minority kind of in wealth in the show. I mean, they're still rich, don't get me wrong, but I think it's really interesting, and I think it's really important to have that in the show. as like these are, I guess, normal people. And yeah, I just think what she wanted to achieve by herself was a really interesting thing. And you have to really question, would you remain the same person if this entire world of wealth and privilege took over your life at the age of 15? Would you still be yourself? Absolutely not. So I think the hate towards Jenny when it comes in terms of like she was annoying and she was a brat and all of this, I don't think it's valid. I mean, I'm all for people having their own opinions. I welcome it so much. But I think she's overhated for what she brings to the show. And then when you dive deep into it, like I mentioned earlier about Jenny had parents who didn't really, they cared about her, but they were not good people type of thing. Like her mom didn't really want to be involved too much and kept leaving. And her dad, Rufus, in my eyes, I hate to get all feministy, but I really think he was being quite sexist during the show. And I understand being overprotective of your children. I totally understand that. But he had the most ridiculous double standards I've ever seen. If you want to be overprotective of your children so that this life doesn't kind of like manipulate them and stuff, you need to be consistent, and you also need to be saying this to your son. Saying this to just your daughter and not letting her leave the house, but then letting Dan go off and do whatever is the most double standards thing I have ever seen. I understand Dan is older, I get it, but you need to be consistent, because Rufus annoyed me so much on the show for his attitude towards Jenny. It was so annoying. And ultimately, I really don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I would have found that like period of the show without Jenny really boring. I think Jenny brought the drama. I just love everything about her. She brought the tension, she brought the drama, and even like a Blair was like shaking about it. Like she was mega fuming. And ultimately, if you really think about it, Gossip Girl, the show as a whole, is about this world taking over all these young people. So I think Jenny had it quite difficult because she didn't really choose this lifestyle, and it was a lifestyle that kind of made its way into her world just because of her dad. So I think it's interesting that even though she had all of this privilege now and power, she still only wanted to make a name for herself with her fashion line and her work. And I think that is really refreshing to see. So the overall show is about this world taking over, and this is ultimately what happened to Jenny. Jenny did not want to be involved. Jenny wanted to live her normal life. So I think that's a really interesting way to kind of look at her character. And don't get me wrong, Jenny is absolutely not the perfect character. She has her flaws, absolutely. She has many flaws throughout the show, and many things that she does I'm like, oh, did you need to do that type of thing? But I think the hate for her is like way too much. I vibed with her character. I think at the worst, Jenny was a bullied and manipulated teenager who had no choice but to accept this lifestyle because it overtook her completely through her dad and Lily. I think this world then led to her kind of becoming a bit more toxic, a bit more manipulative, and that is why people tend not to like Jenny that much. I also think her friendship with Eric was really refreshing because there was so much going on in the show, so many fights and arguments and people breaking up and getting back together, that to have this friendship in the show, and although they did have hiccups here and there, it was really refreshing. I really like Eric's character. I really like Jenny. So them as a friendship duo was so cool. So nice. Such a breath of fresh air. That is it for this video. I would love to hear your opinions on this topic. I think it's really interesting. And whenever I've watched the show, like I've done multiple rewatches. Every time I'm like, I don't get the Jenny hate. But yeah, I'd love to hear opinions, so make sure you comment down below. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.
Pick your season or occupation.